Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Voiceovers Podcast. I'm King. I run the Glowing Mind.
And I'm 24K Logan. And today we're going to be reviewing the highly anticipated new film, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, directed by Joaquin Dos Santos, Kent Powers, and Justin K. Thompson, and starring Shamik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, and Daniel Kaluuya.
Alright, so this is our first time being back on camera. It's been good seeing you. We've been holding it down, Across the Spider-Verse. As of right now, movie of the year.
I agree. I think it's going to be the movie of the year, even when it's all said and done.
As of right now, movie of the year, for sure.
But I think everybody's biggest concern is this the greatest animated film of all time, and is it the greatest comic book film of all time?
So, it was certified that Into the Spider-Verse, the first one, was the best animated film of all time. But I feel like this one's arguably better. Arguably now.
See, for me, I believe a lot of this is recency bias. Because me personally,
I don't even know if I can do that.
As much as I wanted to say that was the greatest animated film of all time as well as the greatest comic book film of all time, there's two aspects of it. If you say that it's the greatest animated film of all time, that means you're saying that it's better than The Lion King, Toy Story, Incredibles, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, which I do believe is better than some of those, but
better
not
than
all.
Every Pixar movie.
Very debatable, because Toy Story 1 is like,
it's a classic, man, but like this right here, it blows everything out of the water between the story, the animation, like, because the budget was like $100 million on everything.
And if you say that it's greater, you say it's the greatest comic book film of all time, that means you're saying that it's better than Spider-Man Part 2. You're saying it's better than The Dark Knight, which I still believe that The Dark Knight is the greatest superhero film of all time. It's not a debate for me. Endgame, you're saying it's better than Endgame.
Okay, no, not
Black
Endgame.
Panther,
not Black Panther.
War.
Okay, we're talking Marvel movies.
It's a lot of heavy hitters that it has to go against, bro. That's why I feel that it's like people will say that I'm all about nostalgia. I could say the same about y'all and recency bias. Not you specifically.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like Infinity War was better than Endgame, so that's higher on my list.
I can see that.
That build up, the battle in Wakanda, getting the Infinity Stones. It was better than everything. But back to Across the Spider-Verse, man. If you played the Spider-Man games, you've seen all these variants of Spider-Man on screen. Finally, after all these years, you finally get all these variants. We got the Scarlet Spider, Spider-Punk, so many people. Oh man, so many Spider-Mans I didn't even know about. I was like, who are all these people?
I was surprised.
Yeah,
and I think for me, the best part about them, by the way, it's in the description, y'all. Spoiler review.
Oh yeah.
I think the best part for me about the movie, the thing that caught me off guard, was how they had basically every Spider person or everybody in the Spider-Man universe.
Spider-Verse. It's called Spider-Verse.
Yeah. They had everybody in the Spider-Verse together, and it turned out they were going not intentionally originally, but they were going after Miles because they didn't agree with what he was doing. He didn't agree with what they were doing, which I feel that Miles did the right thing. He wanted to save his family as well as save the rest of the world.
Yeah, if any other them was in that position, they would have,
Exactly.
Rules or not, quantum rules or not, whatever it's called, anybody would say they family members, so you cannot blame Miles, and he's the main character.
Like I said, this is the film of the year.
Film of the year for sure.
I think it's already in my top 3 all time for Spider-Man films. I just don't want to say that it's the greatest just yet. We're going to be doing a ranking of all the Spider-Man films with Across the Spider-Verse included.
This one gotta get in like high on the list, man. I know it's
top
sudden.
3. It might be top 2.
It's sudden and hard, man. But it's just like, I don't know. It just blew me out of the water. I'm like, dang, man. The animation's raw. And if you look really close to certain things, there's little details. The cameos. They even showed some clips from the old Spider-Man. They showed what they went through.
Like when they showed Toby, when they showed him and Uncle Ben when Uncle Ben was dying.
Yeah.
But I think with this movie, I have nothing bad to say about it. Like, it's definitely a 10 out of 10. I'm sure you give it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 for sure.
10 out of 10. Nothing bad to say about it. I really didn't see any flaws. I think the only and this isn't a bad thing, but it's kind of like with No Way Home. Remember I said that No Way Home, while I enjoy being able to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield again, I felt that with what they did with No Way Home, you send Willem Dafoe and you send Doc Ock and Jamie Foxx, you send all them back to those universes alive, then that kind of changes the events and the history of the original films. But with Across the Spider-Verse, they did a way better job of how they did it, because they teased at certain things. They showed everything was connected together, but the way they did it, I believe that it didn't mess up the previous events from the original franchises. So that's another thing that I enjoyed. Obviously, the animation was top notch.
Fire.
And the voice acting was outstanding.
Oh yeah, shout out to Shamik Moore, man. Can we talk about
Haley Steinfeld?
Yeah, Haley Steinfeld, because she played in the Hawkeye show.
Yep.
But let's talk about Shamik Moore.
Okay.
This man, what was it, 2015 when Dope came out?
Yep.
That was a great movie, and I loved his role there. And then when he was he played as in the Wu-Tang show.
As Raekwon.
Yeah, he played Raekwon in the Wu-Tang show. And just seeing him play as two different people, like from a geek in high school to like this rapper in the 90s.
And then voicing the teenager.
It's so crazy. Like his catalog, just those 3 movies alone, his evolution. Yeah. Legendary actor right there.
Shout out to Shamik Moore.
Like,
great to see him doing good things out here.
Yeah, that was just so crazy seeing such a talented actor on the screen.
And if y'all haven't seen the Wu-Tang series, go check that out. By the way,
Wu-Tang American Saga, fire.
And Dope.
Yeah, Dope too. That's a great movie as well.
Now, one thing about animation, you can do more with animation films. And you compare it to like a live action Lion King and then cartoon Lion King. You can do a lot more.
Yeah.
Although, of course, with these movies, these type of movies are made more for live action than a Disney animated film. But again, they were able to do a lot of things that surprised me. I think the biggest thing that I was looking for is the way that people were hyping it up, saying it's the greatest comic book film of all time. They were saying it's the greatest animated film of all time. That was all over Twitter. My biggest concern was, when I go in this movie, can I find things in here where I'll be like, that argument is valid? The argument is valid. You can make an argument that is not only the greatest animated film of all time, but also the greatest comic book film of all time. Definitely the film of the year, and one of the greatest films of all time, period. I've heard people say that as well. I think the argument is valid. There were some people making comments saying that Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse might be 2 of the greatest films ever made. I wouldn't say that.
Okay, right then and there, no. But if you're talking top 20, probably you can make that valid.
Top 20,
but there's so many movies to choose from before an animated movie to jump its way up the list. Because an animated movie has to be included in the list, but be very high on the list. It has to be a great movie.
Because if you're saying that those are the 2 greatest films ever, then you're saying that it's better than The Godfather Part 1 and Part 2, which a lot of people consider is the greatest 2 films of all time. Yeah. I prefer Part 2 over Part 1.
Yeah, I got to finish them. It was cool watching, but Scarface more my cup of tea. I know some people might be like, oh, Scarface, not Godfather. And,
Scarface is my personal favorite too. So
shout out Pacino, man. Cause he was in Godfather and Scarface, so like you can't argue, man. Come on.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed this movie, and seeing everybody's reaction at the end was like,
because like, man, I thought they was about to go boxing for the next 10, 20 minutes. I'm like, yes. And then I'm like, wait a minute, no, tell me it's ending. And it said to be continued. I was like, oh, because I remember Beyond the Spider-Verse come out next year, March or April.
March 2024.
Yeah. So next year we get Beyond the Spider-Verse, which I'm pumped to see. Maybe that might be in the conversation because that's better than this movie.
I don't see how it could be better. Like,
whatever they
there's a lot that they would have to jump over to beat this movie. Like, it's kind of like in Sam Raimi trilogy. well, you probably don't believe it, but I think Spider-Man Part 2 is the greatest film in that trilogy.
I think 1 is, and I think 2 is the worst. Three. I mean, come
on. You heard this. He said that Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 is the worst film of that trilogy.
Look, Spider-Man 3, the Bully McGuire memes, the symbiote, everything was executed perfectly. I don't care how much I hate that movie. That was a great movie. But Spider-Man 1, best Spider-Man movie ever.
Stay tuned.
We're gonna do a ranking soon. We're gonna do a ranking soon. Stay tuned for that. But beyond the Spider-Verse, they have to really knock us out of the park with this next one.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't see... I mean, I think it's going to be a great film. Just knowing how these writers and these animators put their passion and their blood, sweat, and tears into it. I just don't see how you can beat Across the Spider-Verse.
And also another debate, No Way Home versus Across the Spider-Verse.
What movie set the bar for those, though?
You in this movie set the bar. Okay.
Spider-Man 2.
Because we got what? Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Homecoming, No Way Home, and No Way Coming and Far From Home. Yep. You got these 7 movies that led to this one movie versus this one movie that led to this one movie, if that makes sense. But if you came up with Spider-Man as a kid from the 2000s to 2010s, you know, that movie was legendary to you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But this movie is for everybody, especially like the comic book fans.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. It's comic book fans versus, you know, the 2000s fans, I guess.
Yeah.
And everybody loves Spider-Man. So it's like...
People will... I think... Where you decide to rank this movie, it ultimately comes down to what you were looking for. Did you get what you were looking for? And then what lens are you looking at it from? Because like you said, you have the diehard comic book fans. Then you have the fans who love the character Spider-Man, but they don't know all about the comics, but they're big animated fans.
Yeah.
And then you just have film fans in general. So there's like 3 different lenses that you could go into this movie looking at it from.
True.
So that's where that comes in at. But we do have a Spider-Man film ranking coming very soon. Y'all stay tuned for that. That's where y'all will see what the both of us think is what I think is the greatest Spider-Man film of all time and what he thinks is the greatest Spider-Man film of all time. Even though we might have already said it.
We got 10 movies to rank and they all great.
Yeah.
Dang, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. That's like probably one of the hardest rankings ever.
How you feel about Donald Glover?
Okay, so yeah, Donald Glover made this cameo in Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
But I noticed this because I've been thinking about this for years.
Okay.
So in Spider-Man Homecoming, Donald Glover made an appearance as like his name was Aaron. He's Uncle Aaron in that universe. And he mentioned he has a nephew in this neighborhood. That nephew will be Miles Morales.
That makes perfect sense.
And that's in the MCU. And you see how he was in Across the Spider-Verse as the Prowler. So, technically, if we get Miles Morales live action, which there has been hinting about,
Donald Glover might be the live action Uncle Aaron.
Yeah, but also this live action Miles Morales might be in the MCU.
Exactly.
Now, is it too soon? Because Tom Holland, they better make a 4th Spider-Man. So who knows how that's about to work, but yeah.
The way that they're trying to combine all this is good.
It has to work.
That's what I'm saying. It's good to revisit these things, these classics, these previous characters, but it's also about how you write it in there and, like you said, how you do it. It has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it won't work. So, but I think they're going to be delicate about this and they're going to take their time. I didn't think that they were going to have Beyond the Spider-Verse ready for release March 2024 because remember, Into the Spider-Verse came out 5 years ago.
Sure.
Didn't see this coming. But hey man, we appreciate y'all watching. That's going to wrap it up. Like I said, we got that Spider-Man film ranking coming soon, so y'all stay tuned. We're going to keep getting this content out there for y'all no matter what the odds are. Peace and love to everybody.